Yeah, I'm excited for this year. My sons and I are going to be there. There's a couple other dads with a couple sons about my boy's age that we're going to be doing a fantasy football league together. And so I kind of feel a mix of this. On one hand, it's fun, and I think a I would rather be doing sports with my boys than doing sports without my boys, or even the opposite of just my boys are in sports and not
Mm-hmm.
participating with them really and kind of keeping abreast. Is there a risk, and how do you think about this? Do we obsess too much about sports, and is there a risk of discipling our Christopher and I are both disciples of Jesus, and our allegiance to the kingdom of God matters more than anything that
Yeah.
happens in the NFL season. And so we think about, like, just like we do our relationship with media in general, what should the relationship with sports be? Am I running a risk in discipling my boys into an obsession with sports by participating in a fantasy football league with them?
You're asking this on a podcast by two out of state fans.
Where we're doing this voluntarily, it's not even our job
Nobody's forcing us
to
to do
report.
this. It's not a job.
No,
Nobody
I
asked us.
it's just something I think about frequently. And so,
No,
yes, I'm asking it.
I think about it. I um obsession is a funny word because I think that sometimes we can downplay, you know, interest um
Hmm.
and enjoyment and um you know, someone who's like incredible at, some art form or some work or doing good work or something could be described as obsessed with details or obsessed with their art or whatever. And I think largely I could look at those things and think, oh, that's a good thing. I think so. So to me, the question comes more around. My questions come more around the the sort of um nature of the sports and the nature of entertainment and
Mm-hmm.
um
Taking pleasure. I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping in, but like one of the
yeah
questions could be is football, which is notorious for brain injuries, like is that ethically appropriate to
yeah
take pleasure and
if
entertainment in a yeah.
like it is voluntary is they're volunteers clearly, but there's kind of several factors of like um they wouldn't they wouldn't be doing this. Many. I mean, we all play sports in the backyard, So maybe we would be playing backyard sports, and that would have risk of injury. Um, but most of them would not be taking nearly that many hits. Wouldn't be playing professionally, probably, if it wasn't for the fans. The sports in general, but especially the NFL, bring in just an unfathomable amount of money. Many of them were kind of indoctrinated into it from a very young age. And not just indoctrinated. I don't mean like to say, oh, they played youth sports. I mean like these are the best of the best. They were the best athletes probably in every single team that until maybe college or maybe even the NFL, because they're the best of the best. And so they're coming from families who have poured massive amounts of time. Most of them, not all of them. I know that there's some cases where it's like, oh, I discovered it as a teenager or whatever. Um,
Mm.
but they're coming from families who probably invested a tremendous amount of resources and time and energy from a very young age. And so there's a degree to which it's like, if there wasn't that much money in it, they may have never gotten interested in the NFL.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and so to me, and then there's also like this kind of weird dynamic. I think about this. Adam Thielen was just traded to the Vikings. I think about this when we talk about trading players, like where they have very little say at, especially until they get to kind of create their own contracts because they were very good players and are able to put in no trade clauses and stuff like that. But for the most part, they get very little say over whether or not a team just decides to up and trade them, and so their whole lives are disrupted. And that feels gross to me. Like, um, in what other context will you just like I worked for a cafe, and the cafe down the street says, "Hey, we want that guy. Will you take 3 espresso machines for him?" like I'm ripped out of, I think about this with Harrison Smith, who went to the Jets. Notoriously terrible organization, coming from like an organization that in the last 5 years has gained like an incredible reputation. And it's like his work life was incredible. Now he's traded to this organization that hopefully is on the better with Aaron Glenn, but um he may have a miserable work experience, and he's making a lot of money. I get that. But so all those are all the thoughts that I think about, and then here I am, like any amount of money I spend on NFL stuff, um, any amount of time I spend. Obviously, they're making. I don't know if it's most or a lot. I would imagine it's most of their money through like ads. So I'm sitting watching, and they're presenting their ads and stuff. It's like the injury dynamic, but then also just some of the other moral implications of particularly the NFL, just the sort of what's the word for it, exploitation of the players, um
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
injury and the exploitation of the players that I feel concerned about, of like, should I, like, am I dulling my conscience um
Hmm.
by convincing myself that it's okay to participate in this?
Yeah. I resonate a lot with what you were sharing. Those are things I think about frequently. I am grateful the NFL seems to be taking head injuries and so forth more seriously than they were. But
Yeah.
then, I mean, I don't know if Tua's helping the cause a whole lot as he continue. And I get it. Like if your
Yeah.
whole life you've been training to be a starting quarterback and you have this skill set to do it, it'd be hard to give it up. But um, there are definitely pieces where there's a lot about the NFL that has some corrupt parts about it. And so just kind of
Yeah.
wrestling through. And then even, not to mention the fact that any major event is a playground of sorts for human trafficking and so forth. And there's been human trafficking connected with the Super Bowl and kind of around that time. Whenever a major city gets an influx of visitors for a short period of time, that sort of thing often rises. And how does the Super Bowl play into that and so forth, that I've thought about. There's a lot of Christians who Kevin O'Connell is a Christian. Different
Hmm.
players, different coaches are Christians and participating. That's their work. All of us participate in the American economy and the American marketplace, and there's plenty of corruption there. So yeah, I don't think it's wrong. Like I'd rather be doing it with my sons than and teaching them even how to process some of these things along the way. We have had more spiritual conversations as we're working through something about sports than probably anything else in life. And largely because we do a lot of sports in our family. Our boys play Little League Baseball in the summer. My boys are always begging me to do something, some sporting activity with them in the evening or on breaks and so forth. And so there's lots of ripe ground for character development and to address issues of the heart in sports. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of safe to do it there because, you know, the worst that's going
Yeah.
to happen is you're going to have some feelings to work through afterward, but it's not like you're making relationship or making decisions that are going to ruin relationships and so forth. The discipline of doing a craft well, doing what you know to do, even when the results aren't being produced, and being faithful in your work. Like nothing else in life, at least in your youth, really sets a framework for that kind of training ground quite like sports do. And so those are some benefits that I see, but there's definitely a lot of I think it behooves us as stewards not only of our time but also with our kids to to be curious about it, to be constantly evaluating. But I think obsession or unhealthy attention, however we want to call it, like that can happen with anything. Some people, it's happening that way with other forms of media. Some people, it might be over politics. Some people, it might be their family business. Like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
guess I th- that's kind of my 2 cents on kind of how I'm processing. But if you think that I should absolutely not participate in this fantasy football league with my boys, by the time this episode is published, we will have already had our draft, but we can pull out of the league. And actually, that's kind of facetious. I don't intend to. So maybe I'm just asking for you to confirm my bias. Maybe that's what's going on.